While everyone else is complaining about falling traffic, one of my websites just 10x'd in a matter of hours. And make no mistake, this was in the highly competitive personal injury law space. We're not talking about some random keywords, some random location. This is injury law in the US, and you can see organic traffic value follows organic traffic precisely. So this project was looking a bit neglected, 31 visitors a month, and then as we go along, we get to the end of June, 1st of July, 2nd of July, 3rd of July, and then bang, 4th of July, 140 organic traffic. Traffic value has gone from $988 to just under $5,000. And then if we carry on, we get to the 9th of July, and then suddenly that takes off all the way up to 12th of July, 200 traffic a month, $7,500 a month in traffic value. And also notice this yellow line. I'm not talking about pumping out a load of low competition content to try and game the metrics. This is one of my one-page AI websites where you can see there are just 2 pages indexed within Ahrefs. That's because there aren't any more pages on the site, at least not ranking on Google. Now make no mistake, there was a Google update on the 2nd of July, and it is still rolling out. But how is it that I was able to predict what this update was actually going to do? Well, as far as we can see, this latest Google update just seems to be compounding a lot of the principles that were already baked into recent Google changes and the algorithm. And that basically comes to high quality content, relevance, and backlinks. Now don't click away just because I said the obvious. Let's dive deeper into what's actually going on here. My one-page website process does sound like YouTube guru hype, but it absolutely works. And that's because we're doing exactly what Google wants. We're basically building a website that looks like a real business and is optimized in all the correct ways. So we want to be the actual real business, not an affiliate site. We're not a doorway page. Instead, we've partnered up with a lawyer and simply running the website as if it was there. Then we focus on commercial intent keywords. I keep on going on about this. If you're going to answer every question related to lawyers, that might have worked a long time ago for gaming, but these days that's all answered by AI overviews. And sure, you might get cited as a source, but is anyone really going to click on that source? Not really. Whereas if I've just had a car accident, I need a lawyer, I want to get a lawyer on the phone right now. And trust me, for that, I'm going on to Google, I'm skipping past all the AI results, and I'm trying to find an actual lawyer. We use an exact match domain for relevance. On SEO Twitter, I get lots of flack saying exact match domains don't work anymore. What are we talking about there? It's when the keyword you are targeting is in the .com or whatever your local variation is. And not only do they still work, they are working better than ever. Google is always looking for relevance, and you can't get more relevant than making your website, your URL, the keyword you're actually looking to target. This is another one of my one-page websites that's a little more established. This is in the finance niche. Now, it took about a year for this particular site to shoot up to number 1. We can work faster than that, especially for our clients, but for one-page websites, we're all about building a large volume of websites and letting them earn the right to more investment. So if they start to rank well, if Google likes a couple of them, then we invest more in that particular website. Simple as that. So it was after about a year, sitting at the bottom of page 1, suddenly this rocketed up to the top of page 1. But what I want to tell you about today is how we see over time these big sharp drops, where it came down here and then it stayed down here for a bit and then it went up again, stayed up there, came down again, stayed down there, came up again and stayed up there. And each of these pretty much lines up with a Google update. And this is what really emphasizes that point that Google is just a machine, it's just an algorithm, which is basically a checklist. And that checklist will change. Now, we as SEOs will try and keep up with it, but a lot of the time, there's not a whole lot you can do. And I believe that a lot of these changes are purely down to how heavily Google is rewarding exact match domains at that particular time, at that particular update. Nothing on the site has changed, and sites do generally improve their rankings over time, but it's not going to be sharp peaks and troughs like this. So this is literally a case of what Google likes on the page, and does Google like exact match domains or not? And even then, it's not like a hard penalty, it doesn't disappear, but in one update it'll be a number 3, in another update it'll go back up to number 1. And that just carries on over time. I talk about this as minimum viable content, rather than the old idea of let's smash out loads of content and hope some of it ranks. It's just a simple exact match domain, content on the site, but we optimize that content. And loads of people are just not doing this. Literally right now, I just Googled auto injury lawyer Miami. This is an extremely valuable niche. There's this idea that law firms are completely so competitive. Surely every SEO in the world is trying to get law firms. Well, apparently not, or they're not doing a very good job. Because I just scrolled down and picked one example at random, not from page 1, but more around page 2, 3, and I put their URL into Surfer. This is a correlational tool that basically looks at the top 10 in Google and reverse engineers that algorithm. What is Google rewarding right now? And straight away, content score is 47. And that is low. That tells us that even though surely every SEO in the world is trying to help law firms right now, it's not really working out. This particular law firm is right down at 47. So no wonder it's not ranking that high. Whereas we can see on page 1, the average is much more around sort of 60 to 70. And even that's not actually particularly high. Although interestingly, the number 2 result, injury attorney FLA, again, it's an exact match domain that's helping it stick at number 2 on Google, even though the content score isn't particularly high. Now, where does that come from? We've got this whole recipe down here, not just the main keyword you're targeting, but all the other relevant keywords and entities to include. That's because how does Google actually judge what so-called quality content is? Well, it can't read your whole article with its resources, but what it can do is basically use its knowledge graph, work out the kind of things you should be mentioning and talking about. That's how Google understands the internet. Count the number of times they're mentioned. That all goes into a vector database of numbers. And of course, a database of numbers is a lot easier to store and index than a whole article. And because of that, Google itself is able to assign that kind of to a page of content. Hence, this might only be one tool, but actually this idea of having an overall content score is definitely relevant. We need more words in the body, just because everyone else is clearly being more comprehensive. The actual formatting can be better, the headings and titles. So there's still so much to improve. So even though apparently SEO is dead, it's too competitive, we can still go into an incredibly valuable niche and find all these opportunities that this company is just missing out on. Now, if you don't want to make the same mistake, then I do have a limited number of strategy calls available if you click the link below. I've now trained up an elite team based on these processes. So that means we are able to open up strategy calls again without me getting completely overwhelmed again. And this will allow us to uncover for you all those little things you hadn't really thought about before that are probably going to be holding you back. This is just one law firm I picked at random, and there were loads of mistakes there. And that was just on the on page, never mind the off page, the technicals, everything else. So if you're in a competitive niche like this and you're struggling, you feel stuck, I highly recommend click the link below and we'll see if you're a fit and if we can find some of these opportunities to really scale your earnings. Because many people think SEO is too expensive. Well, let me tell you, most of the money is in the links, getting other websites to actually link to you, and that incurs a lot of cost. However, as long as you build the right backlinks, you don't actually need that many of them. So with my injury law example, if I just scroll up here, you'll see I've just got 70 backlinks. That's a high quantity, but actually the power of those links is low because we were using simple press releases, citations, and so the overall domain rating of this site is just 0.2 out of 100. So this is hardly anything to then be getting $7,000 a month in traffic value, around 200 potential leads per month. So that's everything I'm talking about in this presentation. Minimum viable SEO. You don't want bloated content, you don't want bloated backlinks. We just have a really good idea of how Google's working right now, and we can fit exactly that and fit your business to suit those requirements. And I was already doing this back in November when I built this site, and yet the latest Google update is only rewarding those principles even more than they were before. So I don't get it right every time, but it looks like on this occasion I was very right. So what is Google really rewarding right now? Obviously, you want to look like a real business. You don't want pages and pages of content that just make you look like a blog, because it is wasteful for Google to crawl all of that content. And no one's clicking it these days anyway, because a lot of informational content is just being served by AI overviews. Exact match domains work great. So it can be a bit of a compromise in terms of how you represent your brand whilst also getting those keywords into your URL website. And crucially, commercial intent. We talk about the funnel when we look at all these different keywords people are searching. The top of the funnel, people used to get really excited at because they were high volume but low competition. But the reality was a huge number of those people were never actually going to filter through to actually buying from you. I've made that mistake myself plenty of times. You're far better off just going for that commercial intent. In this case, it was just a single page that fulfilled that commercial intent. I want this type of lawyer. And then you power up that page with backlinks once the on page is fully optimized using all these requirements from Google. In this case, we had the benefit of local targeting. Obviously, local search is much less competitive than national search, but equally, this works nationally as well. In this example, this was a national website, but we were still able to go niche, but we went on a product niche rather than a location niche. So we were still able to find untapped opportunities. And again, that's exactly what we do on an SEO strategy call. We want to try and get you some quick, easy wins to get you ROI so you can continue to scale. And often it's just a few hidden keywords that no one else knows about that can make all the difference. So what do I mean by look like a real business, not a blog? So Google's big problem for a long time has been people, dare I say it, like me, smashing out lots of pages, lots of content as a marketer to basically rank on Google and perform arbitrage, take the traffic from Google and send it to affiliate offers. And that worked great for years. Google's never really much of a fan about it. And now we have the whole AI threat as well, where content has become commodified, those product recommendations have become commodified, but what cannot be commodified yet is actual products and service providers. So think about it, if you've been in a car accident, do you want to read a blog post comparing lawyers, or do you just want to find an actual lawyer right now? So we just want clear service offering, contact information, testimonials and location details. Especially for local search, it is all about who you are, what you do and where you do it. And if you repeat that across the internet, not only does that help you on Google, it's also going to help you on future AI searches as well. We're getting loads of case studies showing that when you're performing link outreach to get backlinks, those guest posts, if those guest posts are formatted in the correct way, then they can train the AIs to say what you want them to say. Same thing with social media, same thing with Reddit. All of those are source data for the AIs. And going back to that point about exact match domain still working, it's always this battle when you're first starting out. Do you want a branded site and then a slash and then your particular niche, your particular location? Do you maybe want a national site and then a load of locations? And that can absolutely work, but generally these days I much prefer to just target my particular niche straight on with the URL, because it's now so easy to build a site. You can see some of the videos on my channel where I'm writing optimized content in minutes that's far better than some of these competitors that don't have a good content score. I'm then taking that content and putting it into another AI to then code a really nice landing page in about 5 minutes. So it is now so easy to throw up a website and get it ranking. A lot of my one-page websites actually rank within just days and weeks, not months and years anymore, because they tick off all those criteria. So generally speaking, not all the time, but generally speaking, prioritize relevance in the actual domain name. Because again, Google is still a machine. We've got to help it out based on what we know it likes, and relevance is one of them. I should really skip over this. I've said it so many times before. You want commercial intent, not informational intent. Target the people who are looking to buy and the types of things they are typing into Google. Don't try and target the law student who's asking some really niche question to Google about how a particular aspect of case law works. 99% of your actual buyers are just going to be searching for you, what you offer. And you want your page to make it very clear to Google that you are the person they're looking for. So clear service offerings, direct contact information, location targeting, immediate action options. As soon as we go up the funnel, generic advice articles, guides, they used to be great, not so great anymore. A little bit of that is fine. We do still want topical relevance. We want to show Google that we're the ultimate authority on this, but we're talking about maximum maybe 20 pages, not 2,000 pages. Now, local targeting does beat national competition a lot of the time. There's still so many niches where a local service provider is able to easily outrank a national provider. Going back to what we were saying about domain names, again, it really depends on the latest Google update. Again, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, depending on what Google's preferring right now. And that is the same thing with this. Sometimes a major brand name with a lot of backlinks, with a big national brand, they'll rank better by having a separate location page. But sometimes it flips after a Google update. And actually Google decides that this small niche independent shop that might not be as established is actually a better fit for local search. So we can't win 10 times out of 10, but over time, you can win out in the end. So broadly speaking, I'd rather spend a couple of $100s to rank locally rather than the thousands of dollars it would cost to rank nationally and target all those locations. But of course, you can grow over time. So even in the legal niche, highly competitive, highly valuable. If we look at the position map, I've got 2 keywords within the top 3 results of Google, which is why I'm getting $7,000 a month in traffic value. So most people struggle with SEO because they overcomplicate it, but the actual fundamentals of Google have not changed that much. You just want one optimized page, not 100 mediocre pages. Generally speaking, you do want a volume, but you can absolutely achieve more with less if you choose the right ones. We want powerful links, with traffic, with relevance. Plenty of videos on my channel about that. Laser focused keyword targeting rather than broad coverage. So I don't worry about news, I don't really worry about blogs. You just want to be the solution to problems. And of course, mobile friendly, fast loading site over a feature bloated design. So many corporates I've worked with, they're very proud of these very beautiful websites with lots of graphics and JavaScript, but generally that slows everything down. Most of my sites are just plain text on a page with some basic layouts. And that's how we pass Core Web Vitals. We're technically very good passing all those requirements, simply because we don't have much stuff on the website to complicate things. So if you're ready to 10x your traffic and crucially your income, it's not about traffic anymore, it is about profit. Everything I've shared today is part of my system, my team are trained on it, and we can deliver it at scale, hands-free. And we know that it actually works not just in today's algorithm, but in future algorithms on the basis that these sites I built months ago, and they've only gone up with the recent update. So more and more it seems like we're playing by the rules and matching what Google actually wants long term, based on the fundamentals. Now, given my brand, my YouTube channel, my multiple businesses, my personal consulting calls do cost thousands. That's why I've trained an elite team who are ready to speak to you today. If you apply through the link below, you can get an AI search domination plan, our budget amplification system, so how we're actually going to maximize your investment for maximum ROI. Our competitor weakness analysis, which shows how we're able to find opportunities based on competitors where they're winning, but they shouldn't be winning based on the work they've done, where we know that if we implement that properly, you can overtake them no problem at all. And all this is packaged into a 90-day growth roadmap. If that's of interest to you, there's only a limited number of places available, but you can click the link below and apply